I think private education is just a mega opportunity.
For both healthcare and education, you don't really see that many platform companies there.
Parents are realizing they have to take more control of their kids' education. It isn't just you ship them off to K-12 and that's it. My bet isn't to give the public institutions more money and just taxing everyone. And I'm kind of the opposite. Let's have the private sector take some of this. Anyone who's optimistic about their future is more willing to invest in the future.
Let's look at what you're doing now. You invest with Queens Road Capital, your VC fund. You're putting dollars into live streaming. You're very big on education, healthcare, both in China and Southeast Asia. You have a number of really interesting portfolio businesses that you've already put dollars into that have at an early stage and have gone on to raise many others subsequent rounds of capital. But what are you really excited about from an investing philosophy? Is it still those main areas? What do you see the future in China and Southeast Asia for the trends you're most excited about today?
I'm super excited about education. I think governments do and anytime governments are involved in anything, they tend to do a bad job. And because of because of social networks, I know we were just dissing them. They're able to keep for-profit businesses more accountable too, right? So I guess that's good. I guess that's a good thing about Zuckerberg. All these reviews and rankings, meaning even if you're a for-profit education company, you have to exhibit good behavior still. And so I think, parents are realizing they have to take more control of their kids' education. It isn't just you ship them off to K-12 and that's it. And then the state is responsible for your kids' education. Now it's more and more, parents have to be more involved. And then, so there's tons of interesting companies and approaches popping up, whether they're assessment tools, new forms of, educating kids and classes and all that sort of stuff. And so I think private education is just a mega opportunity globally. And, in some ways, that, what was it called? Varsity Blue or Blue Shield, whatever that thing was in Newport Beach when they arrested that guy and all those Hollywood people. What was that? That guy Singer, that scandal about getting into USC and all those other schools.
Yes. The paying off the professors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone paid $500,000 to get into USC, which I actually think that's a good thing for USC. I don't know who's paying $500,000 to get into USC, but anyway, yeah.
It was certainly a compliment to USC, that's for sure. But I kind of feel like that's reflective of parents and other stakeholders just having a high desire that their kids are really educated, right? And they're involved in this case, getting involved in great institutions, but it could be learning languages and other things. I mean, there's just this deep desire. And because a lot of people have lost faith in, the public institutions, and they've lost faith in the fairness of the system as well. The last thing I want to do is sound like Elizabeth Warren. That would be horrible. But, we certainly have lost faith in our public institutions. And like my bet isn't to give the public institutions more money and just taxing everyone. And I'm kind of the opposite. Let's have the private sector take some of this, right? And because, they've proven to do a great job. I mean, JP Morgan's a private company, Facebook's a private company, Google's a private company. I mean, Uber, they've all provided exceptional value to consumers, right? And so, so I'm super excited about that, broad category. I mean, that's one area that I'm excited about.
And I've always said that, China, you see China leading the US in terms of platform trends in a number of areas. Certainly, we've seen it historically with messaging. Alibaba is bigger than Amazon in a GMV standpoint. Other areas like healthcare, but maybe education is also in there as well. You put money into this Juesheng company, but it's kind of taking like a marketplace approach to, say, education, and where you don't really see, particularly in the US, and for both healthcare and education, you don't really see that many platform companies there. I mean, the big boys, the Google and Apples, are trying to get into healthcare. They're also doing stuff in education, but I wouldn't say there's much of a like a really strong marketplace approach as of yet. This company looks super interesting. How does that work? I'm sure you're doing other things in education, but it's just interesting to think about a marketplace model in education. How would you kind of give us the brief overview on this?
Yeah, Juesheng, we have 10,000 sellers on the platform. They're all private education companies, everything from certification programs, language learning, study abroad, internships even. They're all on the platform. So consumers can discover, rank, and actually purchase various products. It's amazing to see that many private education companies, right? New Oriental, which is one of our investors, obviously, it's probably the world's biggest private education company. And obviously, Shindongfang or New Oriental, it's all about English language and test prep, right? But that's massive, right? And, Michael Yu, the founder, he's a visionary, and, it's just amazing, right? And there's a bunch of other companies. What is it? There's probably 10 or 15 NASDAQ listed or Hong Kong listed Chinese education companies. It's way more than the States, right? And so things are happening. Part of it's cultural. People just care about education more. They value it a lot more, right? And part of it is we're in this emerging market, which is just growing by leaps and bounds, and consumers and parents are willing to try new things. And then people are just highly ambitious, right? Studies have shown that Chinese are much more optimistic about their future. Anyone who's optimistic about their future is more willing to invest in the future. And so we see that too. And I think all that is just coming together.
Hi, this is Alex from Winner Take All. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the content. Feel free to leave a comment, ask us questions, and definitely make sure to join us on our next live stream.